Public Citizen is a public plaintiff attorney trial lawyers firm, essentially. And they will sue corporations on behalf of individuals. They will sue corporations based upon product liability cases. It's a not-profit. A lot of times your private firms will not take a case unless they can make money, because that's their business. There are some cases they'll take pro bono and they'll work on those for an extended period of time, but there's only so many that they do within the context of a private law firm. This is essentially a not-for-profit law firm that, and I've interviewed these people. At some of these tort conferences, they've done some amazing work. This story is stunning. I haven't seen it anywhere else. But we'll play just a little bit of a clip and then we'll put a link to the full thing. But this is sort of an amazing story.
This is crazy. Y'all just took like 8 black people off the plane. What?
On January 5th, 8 black men, including Emmanuel Jean Joseph, Xavier Veal, and Alvin Jackson, were kicked off American Airlines Flight 832 from Phoenix to New York.
There was a flight attendant walking down the aisle, and they were plucking people what seemed at random, telling them that they had to be placed onto another flight.
So you just have to take your belongings. And I was like, why? She was like, oh, we'll tell you when we get off the plane.
I got up, then I noticed down the aisle as I'm walking, and the person behind me and the couple people ahead of me, it's all just black men, which then I'm starting to get a little bit much more frustrated. And I'm like, oh, wow, it's only the black males on the plane. All right, what's going on?
Now, they're suing American Airlines for discrimination, and they're represented by Public Citizen and Out in Golden.
When they asked American Airlines representatives what was happening, what was going on, they received the extremely bizarre explanation that they were being asked to leave because a white male flight attendant had complained about somebody's body odor.
When I turned around and heard those words from her, I kind of was shocked and appalled.
None of our clients had a problem with body odor. They were removed because they were black men. And there are 2 reasons we know this was a clear case of race discrimination. The first is that American Airlines representatives walked down the aisle and systematically picked out every black male passenger aboard the flight. They were going into separate rows on different sides of the plane. I mean, if this was really a concern about odor, they would have targeted the place where the odor was coming from, not walked up and down the aisle and selected every black man aboard the flight.
The attendant was walking down the aisle and not necessarily like with intent being like, hey, you, and you. They were hesitant and like, okay, like trying to find where the black people were. Like, oh, there's another one. There you go. Like, that's what was happening.
They didn't seem to be following any policy or procedure. It just was like off of the top, grab the black men off of the plane.
I need everyone to exit the top of the jet.
Yo, I paid for the flight just like everybody else, so we don't have a right to be on this flight?
All the staff that was at the gate, or the bridge, excuse me, were people of color.
They seem to have been brought down to speak to us because they were also people of color. The flight attendant that made the initial claim happened to be a white gentleman.
A couple of the people working were apologizing throughout the time, which really made it seem like they didn't agree with what they were doing as well.
We have on video American Airlines representatives agreeing with our clients that this was discriminatory and that they were removed from the flight because of the color of their skin.
So this is discrimination.
Yo, this is insane.
I agree. Yo, just because of the color of my skin. Okay.
I do not disagree with you.
This is insane. I don't even know the terminology for what just happened other than discrimination.
Initially, American Airlines had said that they would have to rebook all 8 passengers aboard another flight. But when they realized that there wasn't another flight going to JFK that evening, they ended up letting all 8 passengers back on.
Unbelievable.
Just finally.
All right. I mean, we'll link to the rest of this video, but this happened in January. I mean, and on one level, of course, it's not. It shouldn't be terribly shocking, but on the other hand, it's incredibly shocking. And
it's
also just the and you know, aside from like obviously the inconvenience and the embarrassment, because they all went back onto the plane. And incidentally, and everybody on the plane is really pissed because they all are blaming these people for us sitting on the tarmac for whatever it is. But go through your life and have moments like this and try and imagine that you have the same opportunities as anyone else. Try not to have this self-consciousness in every moment to wonder, hey, am I getting screwed here because of the color of my skin? I mean, that is, obviously, I am sure all of those guys had dealt with this, one form of this discrimination or another throughout their years. But to have something so formal and institutionalized and this random selecting of black men to pull them off the plane, just try and go through your life after that and never knowing what I am to attribute this misfortune or this selection or this non-selection. I mean, it's just, it's insane. It's insane.
It's insane. And also, I'm old enough to remember when a plane door was, because of Boeing cutting corners in their manufacturing, flown off one of the planes, and all of right-wing media blamed DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because some of these corporations have these programs for, planes malfunctioning. It makes absolutely no sense. What's crazy, it's just the exact opposite problem is the truth, which is that we have systemic racism in this country that makes itself felt and is so dehumanizing on a daily level to people. This is an example that's acute, but microaggressions, this kind of discrimination happens every millisecond in this country.
What are the procedures for a flight attendant
having a race
I'm
panic?
taking, I've got to get 8 people off the plane. Really? Oh, why? What happened? They're all black.
Did they have to fly with this piece of garbage flight attendant for the rest of the flight?
I want to know. Yeah, exactly. That's
Name
the
this
thing,
person.
These sorts of that seems like a Nazi. I don't know how you make that claim about people and say the odor. Like, I don't know. That sounds like a Nazi to me. And I don't know. Of course we don't know who that is, but like that is just so appalling.
And also, first of all, these are paying customers. We are so, putting aside the extreme racism for a second, the idea that these airlines can just make these determinations, and there's very little recourse at this point because we've deregulated the airline industry to this degree. A flight attendant shouldn't be able to do that. I've sat next to a guy eating the smelliest Chipotle ever on my flight. It wasn't pleasant, but I'm not going to, try to kick him off. The flight attendant shouldn't even be able to have that.
You're not a Nazi.
Right.
I mean,
well,
I guess.
I know, but in terms of even the odor question on its face, these are customers. They have the right to fly, and there shouldn't be able to have these. I don't know, unless there's violence or something like that. These flight attendants shouldn't have that latitude.
I don't know. I kind of think that people misbehaving, flight attendants, should be able to get them out of the paint, to be honest. Post-pandemic flying, you saw a lot of people misbehaving. But this sort of thing is just how does somebody make that claim and get it picked up by the rest of the staff to the point where you have the non-white staff coming to take care of it? I want to know the Slack messages that went
I've
out.
got to get these 8 people off the plane. Why? Because they're black. Send some black people down, or
Paging all black
do you have
American
any?
Airlines
Is there anybody who's Asian who's working the can come down on the gate to talk to?
We'll
these
take
people?
the Latinos too.
Yes, whatever you've got. Insane.
Really, and not flying isn't stressful enough, and all of a sudden a race attack, a conspiracy against you because of the color of your skin happens.
We got to do some digging and see if American Airlines fired this flight attendant.
I want to know a lot more about this story.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.